On the night of September 26, 1983, a single man sat alone in a dimly lit command bunker outside Moscow. He stared at a flashing red alert on his screen. It claimed the United States had launched a nuclear strike, 5 missiles, then 10, then 20. If he followed procedure, he would report it immediately, triggering a retaliation that could end human civilization. But something felt wrong. And so, with the weight of the world trembling on his shoulders, he broke the rules. This is the story of the night the world almost ended, and the quiet officer who stopped it. To understand what happened, we step back into the most dangerous year of the late Cold War. Tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union were the highest since the Cuban Missile Crisis. President Ronald Reagan had called the USSR an evil empire. Washington was deploying new nuclear missiles in Europe, ones that could strike Moscow in minutes. Weeks earlier, a Soviet jet had shot down a Korean passenger airliner, killing 269 people, including a US congressman. Both sides were paranoid, armed, and watching each other with trembling fingers hovering over nuclear triggers. In that atmosphere of fear stood an early warning system known as OKO, the Soviet Union's eyes in the sky. It was cutting edge, it was untested. On the night of September 26th, it would make the most catastrophic mistake in the history of technology. Inside the Serpukhov 15 command bunker, Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov was filling in for a colleague. The room around him hummed with machinery. Phone lines connected him directly to Soviet High Command. His job was terrifyingly simple: detect nuclear launches and confirm them. He had minutes, sometimes seconds, to confirm it. After that, the Kremlin would issue the order to retaliate. He knew the stakes. Hesitation could mean annihilation. Overreaction could trigger World War III. Petrov was not a man seeking glory. He was simply doing his job. But soon, history would ask far more from him. Just past midnight, a sharp metallic siren shattered the quiet of the bunker. A red word pulsed on Petrov's screen. Launch. Missiles detected. Heading toward the Soviet Union. Time to impact. Minutes. Officers froze. Chairs scraped against the floor. Adrenaline flooded the room. Petrov's training told him to pick up the phone immediately and report attack confirmed. But something felt wrong. The system showed one missile. Just one, Petrov reasoned. Why would the United States fire a single missile? A real nuclear strike would be overwhelming, designed to erase Soviet retaliation. He asked for verification. Radar screens showed nothing. Still, the satellite system insisted the missile was real. Petrov hesitated. Then it got worse. Another alert. 2 more missiles. Then more. One after another. 5 in total. Suddenly, this wasn't a single glitch. This looked like a coordinated attack. The room erupted in panic. Technicians frantically checked data. Phones rang. Officers shouted reports. Everyone looked at Petrov, the one man authorized to classify the alert as genuine. His career, his freedom, and possibly his life were on the line. But so was everything else. Petrov later said the room felt unreal, like the world had suddenly tilted off its axis. He closed his eyes for a moment, thinking not as a soldier, but as a human being. If he called it in, generals would order an immediate counterstrike. Millions would die, perhaps billions. He thought of the system's flaws, its rushed development, its untested reliability. He thought of military doctrine, and he thought of common sense. Why only 5 missiles? Why now? Why this pattern? He opened his eyes. He took a breath, and then, against procedure, against training, against every expectation, he reported the alert as a false alarm. He broke the rules, and by doing so, he saved the world. But his decision didn't end the crisis. After declaring the launch a false alarm, Petrov and his team could do nothing but wait. Minutes passed like hours. Every second stretched painfully thin. If he had been wrong, if American missiles were truly on their way, they would soon see blinding light on the horizon. But nothing happened. No explosions, no impacts, no confirmations from radar. Slowly, the adrenaline faded. Breathing returned to normal. The world had not ended. Petrov had been right. In the hours that followed, investigators discovered the truth. There were no missiles. The alert had been caused by a rare alignment of sunlight reflecting off high-altitude clouds. The satellite sensors were tricked into thinking it saw missile launches rising from US bases. A fluke, a technological ghost, a phantom that could have killed hundreds of millions, and only one man's judgment stood between a glitch and global annihilation. Petrov did not receive a medal. He was not celebrated. In fact, he was interrogated, criticized, reprimanded for not keeping perfect logs during the chaos. His superiors found his actions logical, but embarrassing, revealing flaws in a system sold as infallible. For years, the incident remained classified. Petrov returned to a quiet life in a small apartment outside Moscow. The world would not learn his name until the 1990s. By then, he was older, living modestly, almost forgotten. When asked how he felt about being called the man who saved the world, he simply shrugged. "I was just doing my job," he said. The Petrov incident is more than a Cold War footnote. It is a chilling reminder of how fragile civilization can be, how the fate of millions may hinge not on presidents or generals, but on the calm judgment of one person. It warns us that technology, no matter how advanced, is not infallible, and it challenges us to remember that peace is not protected by machines alone, but by the humanity of those who operate them. On that night in 1983, the world stood unknowingly on the edge of oblivion, and thanks to one man's courage to question, to think, and to resist the pressure of fear, we are still here. History often celebrates warriors, emperors, and conquerors, but sometimes the greatest hero is the one who refuses to push a button. Stanislav Petrov did not fire a shot. He did not lead an army. He simply chose caution over panic and saved the world. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of history's most dangerous moments, consider subscribing for more cinematic stories from the past, forgotten events, hidden decisions, and the people who shaped the world in ways we're only just beginning to understand. Thank you for watching.